not just the sun that's going to hopefully bring people out today to the Severn Valley Railway. There's an event going on, one that could affect the future of the heritage railways. An event designed for the next generation. In England today, there's enough preserved railway to stretch from London to Glasgow. At 16.5 miles long, Severn Valley Railway may only be a tiny part of that statistic, but it's no tiddler among preservation lines, and it's certainly not short on big ideas. Today, it's Thomas the Tank Engine Day, and thousands will be attending. Established in 1970, Severn Valley was one of the first preservation railways in the country and is considered by many to be the UK's #1, as it hosts more mainline engines than any other preserved line.
The steam engine would win every time.
Well, it's one of the ones that's not actually featured in the book.
And if they're all as easy as that, will be done in no time.
You can tighten these up and it will pull the carriage back into shape as you load it.
Today will be the first time many of these young visitors will have seen a steam train. I'm just as excited as them about my trip aboard Thomas, and taking that role for the day is a pannier tank engine, designed and built as a shunting train for the Great Western Railway. Mark, tell me what's going to be happening here today.
Well, it's a day out with Thomas, and this morning here at Bewdley we're getting all the engines ready for Thomas at Kidderminster.
So a special day, because obviously you're going to get lots of people today, more than any other day.
Well, we certainly hope so, and there's a lot of people who have pre-booked. It's a very, very popular event.
Mark had worked on Thomas days before, and like many other volunteers, he often doubles up on roles and responsibilities, as I was soon to find out. Tell me about this particular engine.
It's an old Great Western pannier tank engine, although very late Great Western, and it was used for carriage shunting in and out of Paddington. It was sold by British Railways to the Coal Board, and they tended to abuse the locomotives because they were life expired, and they just used them to their very last.
So when you restored it, what did you have to do? How much restoration went into it?
All the moving parts had to be restored, remetalled, machined. Many new parts had to be made because they were just too worn out to use again.
And today you're going to put a face on it, apparently.
Yeah, that's right. All the engines have to have faces on this weekend.
Now I know a Thomas and I know a Percy, so this is just one of the characters. We're not quite sure who it is.
Well, it's one of the ones that's not actually featured in the book. There are a number of them that are featured in the book, and we do have Gordon here, for example, and Duck. And Duck will be here later.
Shall we have a bash at attaching it?
Yeah, sure. If you can stand just between the rails there.
Yep.
If I pass this to you, I'll get up on top and you can hand it up to me.
I would like to spend a lot of time just chatting to children today and eating lollipops and having a really nice time, but tell me, while I'm helping you do this, what are we going to be seeing today, Mark?
We'll be seeing lots of trains running up and down the line, plus a show going on at Kidderminster which features Percy and Thomas. I think Diesel will get involved as well.
Now theoretically you're doing this because not only does it bring in families, but I guess it teaches small children about trains.
Well, that's right, yes. It gives them an actual show associated with the books that they like reading.
I mean, before they see things like Thomas, do you think they're scared of trains? Because they are big, noisy, loud things, aren't they?
I believe so, yes. But putting the face on them, all of a sudden they become very friendly, and they actually come close to the engines and don't feel so frightened of them.
Tell me about the Severn Valley Railway.
Well, it's a 16-mile branch line in Worcestershire and Shropshire that we've preserved, along with steam locomotives and rolling stock from the steam area, together with all the signalling equipment and everything else that goes with it. And here at Bewdley, we're actually restoring locomotives, carriages and wagons. Perhaps now we can meet Steve, who along with his colleagues restores the goods wagons.
Steve, obviously I'm standing by this bright shiny new one and I've left you by this old decrepit one.
Well, actually, Vince, I'm afraid you got it the wrong way round. That's actually the older one, and this is the newer one by about 24 years, in fact. That's actually built 1913, and this one 1937.
At Severn Valley, there are around 80 varying types of wagon. They're used for collecting and moving spoil, transporting spares and equipment, storage, and of course, their presence also adds to the look of a working train line.
Yes, this one's just been restored, but 20 years ago, this one looked roughly similar. It's seen 20 years of hard use with our own engineers, probably more use than it would ever get on BR, because we have a small number of wagons in use every day.
Why is it worn out? I mean, is this just wear and tear of the weather?
It's wear and tear of weather and carrying locomotive ash, which is corrosive.
Steve, I understand why people renovate old steam engines, because obviously they work and they move and they're beautiful to look at, but this is just a cart, isn't it? Why not just buy a new one?
Because it's all part of the scene. I originally started off working on steam engines here, but wagons were getting neglected. They are necessary part of keeping the railway running, and to keep the place historically accurate, got a sort of small team together to start working on them.
So tell me how this one was actually put back together again. Which piece is new, which is old?
Okay, it came to us in pretty poor condition. The corner plates are new, the floor, end panels.
When you say new, you haven't got them from someone else, you've actually cut them?
That's a new piece of steel that we've had folded to shape to the right angle and then riveted in place ourselves.
And the side?
The same with the sides, the ends, the floor.
The frame looks a bit old.
The frame is original, yes.
That's the original frame. So theoretically the frame doesn't decay at the same speed?
No, it's not in contact with ash and ballast and things that wear it. It does tend to survive a bit better.
So don't you feel like you maybe waste money just on putting money on this rather than spending it on the engines?
Not really, because these are support vehicles to maintain the infrastructure of the railway, and to some degree without them we wouldn't have a railway to run the engines on. Okay, the first thing we've got to do to this, Vince, really is take this end panel off. So
are we simply cutting like this?
No, what we're going to do is cut the rivets out and knock them out, because we need to save the corners, the uprights and the top rail. So we can cut into the plate as much as we like, but we mustn't cut into the angle. So we'll turn the acetylene on and get the oxygen on fairly quickly, because the acetylene on its own makes a lot of soot. Well, what we're doing now, heating up the metal, and once it's hot, you'll see it start to glow. Then comes the hard part, which is knocking what's left of it out. And if they're all as easy as that, we'll be done in no time. Perfect, that's it. That's done. Now you've got to knock the remains out. That's gone. It's gone.
How long is it going to take to get all these rivets out and get the whole panel off?
Probably take us a couple of hours to get the whole panel off. Probably going to take us 3 or 4 months to do the complete wagon with all the smaller jobs that
that's
need
not
doing
too
on it
bad
as well.
actually. So it'll look like that one in 4 months' time.
It'll look pretty similar to that one, yeah.
It's not just the wagons that get major facelifts. Catching up with Mark, I found out he was just part of the team running a wide and ongoing programme of restoration. Mark, you got this box attached to the side of the engine. What is it?
It's the rear sand box. It's used for putting sand under the engine wheels when we're running in reverse to get extra grip. Sand goes inside the box here, and there's a mechanical system at the top here.
Which is this one?
That one there, yeah.
Operated from the cab, is it?
That's right. Most of that mechanism's removed at the moment.
And it's simple open-shut mechanism,
That's
so
right.
you open and obviously the sand goes out in the wheels.
And then the sand runs down the pipe underneath the wheels,
giving you traction.
giving you extra grip.
And you have another one down there as well.
At the front as well, for going forwards.
Right.
So you actually lay the sand underneath the wheels and then the engine rolls over it.
So is it a real problem with traction?
Under rainy conditions, yes. Bearing in mind that the engine could be pulling 1,500 tonne train.
The object is to take this off and clean it.
That's right. So if you want to start loosening these top bolts off here.
Yeah. Mark, tell me about the specifications of this particular engine.
It's a Great Western locomotive, built in 1918. It's a 280 heavy freight engine, designed for pulling goods trains. The first engine of this type was built in 1903, and that was actually tested up to a train of 2,000 tonnes, which was actually 107 goods wagons. But he then went to a scrapyard and was bought from that scrapyard in 1974, so obviously by that time it was in very poor condition.
It's no wonder that this locomotive needs an overhaul. To date, she's travelled 1 million miles. That's the equivalent to travelling to the moon and back twice. The pannier tank was designed to run on both light and heavy lines. They achieved this by giving her 8 wheels, which spread the locomotive's weight over a longer stretch of rail. So, I mean, obviously it has quite a history. Tell me about the future for it.
We're currently working on the overhaul of it. It was restored into traffic in 1985 and ran for 10 years. And after 10 years, the boiler has to be stripped and repaired.
Because she's looking a bit sad at the moment, isn't she?
That's right. We've actually stripped all the boiler cladding off, and we've stripped the inside of the boiler and the smoke box, ready for its overhaul.
One of the good things about owning so many carriages is that they can be used for a variety of purposes, like workshops.
Well, first of all, we just need to scrape off the worst of the grunge.
It comes off easy enough, doesn't it?
That's right. It can be very satisfying, taking something that's all horrible and dirty, scraping it all off, cleaning it, and then giving it a good tidy coat of paint to finish with, ready to go back on the engine.
Now, it's nice that here there's lots of volunteers at the railway, lots of obviously people of middle age and some retired people. What about the youngsters? How do they get involved?
This weekend's an ideal opportunity for us to bring youngsters into the railway. Thomas the Tank Engine's obviously a very friendly way of introducing children to railways, and hopefully that sows the seeds and they'll come again and visit, and eventually as they get a little older get involved in some of the work.
Do you feel that young generation will replace the older one, or do you feel in some way that the love of steam trains is going to die out?
I don't believe it will die out, no, because we are finding that there are children who are coming up now who don't remember steam in the old days, but remember steam as they grew up on railways such as ours.
I think I'll leave you to your hard work, but I'll try to find some new recruits for you.
Well, that would be very useful, because as you've seen, we need all the help we can get.
This was turning out to be a busy day, for me as well as the line, and there was still a great deal to do. The restoration shed was just a few stops down the line, and there was no way I was going to leave a trip on Thomas the Tank Engine just to the little kids.